First question is from Daniel Mesa. 1, how possible is it to make muscle gains at 40?
Oh, gosh. So here's the thing. I trained a lot of people towards the end of my career as a trainer that were in advanced age, which I believe is classified as like over 65.
Are we in advanced age now?
No, we're not. No, I'm going to use the...
I'm like, man.
That was me the last time I said that.
That just snuck up on us.
Yeah. No, I'm using that as an example because that's way older than 40. So these are typically it's considered anybody over 65 in a fitness context. And I would say towards the end of my career, a good 35% of my clients were over the age of 65. So I had a lot of experience training them. And they would often ask me the same question, except they were 70 or 80. Sal, can I get stronger at 75 years old, or can I build muscle at 75? The day your body loses its ability to adapt to stress is the day that you're dead. Okay, so you never lose the ability to adapt to exercise. Now, your potential can definitely change. You're not going to be able to get as strong at 70 as you can at 20. 40, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, but not much. There's not much of it. There is a difference, but not much.
I think there's a big difference in when we're comparing these two things, right? Like a 40-year-old who is starting their fitness journey for the first time ever at 40 versus somebody who's trained off and on for a really long time, and maybe they've been off for 5 years and they're training at 40. Because something that I'm finding getting closer to 40 right now is, yeah, it's harder to get in the gym and lift, and I have the aches and the pains, and I have these, and maybe like testosterone levels are starting to slowly decline in comparison to what I was when I was 20. So there's those factors. But then there's the positive factor for someone like me who's lifted for so long that I definitely feel like if I get in the gym and I start touching weights again, my body remembers really quick. So it depends on the 40-year-old that I'm talking to. Am I talking to a 40-year-old who's never lifted weights before, or am I talking to a 40-year-old who has lifting experience, they just haven't got back, or they're back on the wagon, right?
Well, look, Doug is a great example. Doug came to me as a client, and he was a self-described hard gainer, says, all I do is gain body fat. I followed every routine. I've been consistent forever. The guy was working out since he was in his 20s. He came to me in his late 40s, and through changing the way he trained and training him properly, he didn't just get in good shape. He got in the best shape of his life. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have Andrew post up his before and after. So you could see what he looked like in his late 40s, and you'd be blown away. So I hate saying that, yeah, you might notice some decline. Here's the people that might notice declines. The people that are super high level all the time. Everybody else, you're probably not going to notice because what you'll notice more is, am I inconsistent? Is my diet poor? Am I getting bad sleep? Now, if you're like at a top level, in your mid-20s, 30s, and 40s, then I've been consistent all the time for a long time. I'm being super consistent with diet and exercise. I notice a little bit of decline. Would I notice that at all if I was in and out? I don't think so. It's all about the other factors that make the.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's other things too that I feel like we have to give or defend somebody who's 40 plus that's getting into fitness. Where you're at 40 years old, there's other factors besides, like, I know the question's probably geared towards like hormonally and your body's ability to adapt and all that stuff all is fairly close to the same or equal, and I agree with you. But then when you're 40, you've probably been married, have kids.
Those are you have real established patterns, like hardwired patterns.
Right. Work is a huge priority. When you're 22, as long as you get your studying in for the week for your test score and stuff like that, the rest of the time can be focused on yourself and training.
That's the big difference.
Yeah. So I think that you have to give them some sort of credit, or that it's a little more challenging for someone who's starting at 40 late in their life, who has all these other habits established, but good habits, right? Working and doing those things are important. This is also why, and you addressed this in the Hard Gainer webinar with Doug and everything, like this is also why I find a full body routine to be so superior, is a guy who's trying to get into it, or even a girl for that matter, that's trying to get into fitness at 40 years old or older, and is trying to follow these kind of body part split routines where they need to train, 4, 5, 6 days a week and be consistent doing that while all these other factors are in play, and you don't have the experience of lifting forward, definitely can be challenging, versus somebody who is lifting a full body routine that maybe only needs to commit to 3 days inside the gym. a lot of people can make that commitment and be consistent about it. And if they do miss a day, it's not as detrimental to them as far as their progress as it is for somebody who's doing a split routine.
You know, what's funny is now that you brought up men and women, you made me think of something. The most fit women I've ever trained in my life, most women that hire trainers are usually, because personal training is expensive, usually in their 30s or older. You rarely ever get a 20-something-year-old client who hires you just because they don't have the finances to afford paying, $50 to $100 an hour. So most of the female clients are over the age of 30, I would say. And comparing my female clients in their 30s to the ones in their 40s, the ones in their 40s got in better shape. And it's not because of the age. It's because I think when the women were in their 40s, their kids were older. They're not having kids anymore. Yeah. Then they became more focused. Whereas the moms that I had that were in their 30s, it was harder for them to juggle time and scheduling, and then they got little kids, which takes up more time. So I think that's the biggest factor is the time stuff and the responsibilities.
I've also noticed too, like even depending 40, 50, 60 year olds that I've trained that like haven't even like lifted weights before ever, they get those newbie gains.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely something that still happens. It's this phenomenon. Your body's like, wow, what is this? It's a brand new stimulus. So there is a bit of momentum there in the beginning. So it does kind of help give you a little bit of a lift initially.
Yeah. And here's the big thing. The older you get, this is kind of cool. The older you get, if you're consistent with exercise, the further away you are from your peers. So in other words, if you were to compare yourself to your peers, and you're a 20-year-old and you work out, and you're comparing yourself to other 20-year-olds who don't really work out, there's a little bit of a difference. When you're 40, that difference is much bigger, and the older you get, the bigger that difference gets, to the point where when you get to your 60s and 70s. If you're exercising consistently, you are independent. They aren't. They can't even take care of themselves half the time, and you're fully independent. So that's one of the good things about, getting older. You take care of yourself. You maintain a level of fitness that just totally separates you from your peers.
It really is like one of the grass is greener on the other side, because at that age it just presents different challenges, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like that there are some challenges, but it's different than what it was at 25, 30. So both equally difficult to build muscle.
You got to be a bit smarter with your approach.
Right,
too.
right.